The stranger arrived on a Tuesday, just as the market was closing. She walked through the village square with the kind of confidence that made people stop and stare. Tall, elegant, wrapped in expensive fabric that shimmered in the fading sunlight. Her face was unfamiliar, but something about her eyes, dark, intense, knowing, made the elders uncomfortable. "I'm looking for Chick," she announced to no one in particular. Chick, who used to beat his wife. The market froze. Women stopped packing their goods. Men's conversations died mid-sentence. Even the children stopped playing. Because in all these years, no one had ever said it out loud like that. Not like that. Not with such cold, deliberate clarity. Mama Ngozi was the first to find her voice. "Who are you? What do you want with Chick?" The stranger smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "My name is Adiz. And Chick has something that belongs to me." She paused, letting the silence stretch like a rope about to snap. "He has my sister's spirit. And I've come to collect it." The words hit the village like a thunderclap. Inem, who had been selling clothes at her stall, went completely still. She knew that voice. She had heard it before, years ago, in whispered conversations at Amara's funeral. The sister who lived far away. The sister who never made it in time to say goodbye. Adiz turned slowly, her eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on Chick's compound. Even from a distance, she could see him, bent over a washing basin, scrubbing clothes like a servant. "Is that him?" she asked, her voice deadly quiet. "Is that the mighty Chick? The man who killed my sister?" No one answered. They didn't need to. Adiz began walking toward Chick's house, and the entire village followed like she was a storm they couldn't resist. They had to see this. They needed to see this. When Chick heard the commotion, he looked up from his washing. His eyes widened when he saw the crowd approaching. Then he saw her, the woman in the center, walking with purpose, her face a mask of controlled rage. Even before she spoke, he knew. Something in her eyes was familiar. Something in the shape of her face, the set of her jaw. She looked like Amara. "Hello, Chick," Adiz said, stopping just outside his compound. "Do you remember me?" "No." "Let me help your memory. I'm Amara's sister. The one who was away working in the city. The one who came home to bury what was left of her." Chick's hands began to tremble. Water dripped from the clothes he was washing, making puddles in the dust. I don't." He stammered. "You don't what?" Adiz's voice cut like a knife. "Don't remember killing her? Don't remember 7 years of beating her until her spirit broke? Don't remember how she died alone, broken, with no one to save her?" Inem appeared from inside the house, her expression unreadable. The two women's eyes met. In that moment, something passed between them, recognition, understanding, a shared fury. "You must be Inem," Adiz said. "I've heard stories about you. About what you did to him." She gestured toward Chick with barely concealed disgust. "Making him cook and clean and serve. It's creative. Humiliating. But it's not enough." Inem's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, not enough?" "I mean," Adiz said, stepping into the compound uninvited, "that my sister is dead. Dead. And this man is alive, breathing, eating, sleeping. Yes, he's humiliated. Yes, he suffers. But he still has his life. Amara doesn't." She turned to face Chick fully, and he stumbled backward, nearly falling over his washing basin. "I've spent 3 years searching for justice. I went to lawyers in the city. Do you know what they told me? They said it was too late. No evidence. No witnesses willing to testify. The case was closed. Amara's death was ruled as natural causes because your village herbalist lied to protect you." "I didn't ask him to," Chick began. Silence. Adiz's voice boomed across the compound. You don't get to speak. You don't get to defend yourself. You gave up that right the first time you raised your hand to my sister. The crowd watching from outside the compound was growing. Word was spreading fast. More and more people arrived, pressing close to see and hear everything. Adiz pulled something from her bag, a worn photograph. She held it up so everyone could see. It showed two young girls, maybe 12 and 14, arms around each other, laughing at the camera. This is Amara, she said, her voice cracking for the first time. This is who she was before you. Happy. Full of life. Full of dreams. She wanted to be a teacher, did you know that? She wanted to help children learn to read. She looked at the photo, then at Chick, then back at the photo. You took that away. You took everything away. And now I'm going to take everything from you. Inem stepped forward. Adiz, I understand your anger. I share it. That's why I did what I did. But what more can we do? He's already broken. Look at him. It was true. Chick looked like a man already defeated. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes on the ground, his whole body radiating defeat. But Adiz shook her head. Broken? No. Inconvenienced, yes. Humiliated, yes. But not broken. Not like Amara was broken. She began to pace, her expensive fabric swirling with each step. I didn't come here for revenge. Revenge is small, petty. I came here for something bigger. I came here to make sure that what happened to Amara can never happen to anyone else. Not here. Not in any village where this story is told. She stopped pacing and looked directly at Inem. You've done something remarkable. You've made him serve you. You've made him feel powerless. But I want to take it further. I want to make an example of him that will echo through generations. What do you propose? Inem asked carefully. Adiz smiled, and it was terrifying. A trial. A public trial. Right here, right now, in front of the entire village. We will call witnesses. We will present evidence. We will make him face, publicly, everything he did. And then we will let the village decide his punishment. The crowd erupted in whispers. This was unprecedented. Unheard of. Chick finally found his voice. You can't do this. I'm already paying for what I did. I serve Inem. I do everything she says. What more do you want from me? What more? Adiz turned to him, her eyes blazing. I want you to feel what Amara felt. I want you to stand in front of everyone who turned away when she needed help. I want you to hear them admit they knew what you were doing, and they did nothing. She pointed at the crowd. How many of you heard her screaming? How many of you saw her bruises? How many of you whispered about it but never intervened? The silence was damning. People looked at their feet, at their hands, anywhere but at Adiz's accusing eyes. That's what I thought, she said bitterly. You're all guilty. Every single one of you. But Chick most of all. Mama Ngozi pushed through the crowd, her old legs carrying her faster than they had in years. Wait, she said, breathing hard. Wait, my daughter. You're right. You're right about everything. We failed Amara. We failed her every single day. And we've carried that shame ever since. She turned to face the crowd. Gather everyone. Call the elders. This woman is right. It's time we faced what we allowed to happen. It's time for truth. By nightfall, the entire village had gathered in the square. Torches were lit, casting dancing shadows on the walls of surrounding compounds. The elders sat in a semicircle, their faces grave. Adiz stood in the center, Inem beside her. And Chick, Chick sat on the ground, alone, with everyone's eyes on him. "We are here," the head elder began, his voice heavy with reluctance, "because this woman has demanded truth. She has demanded justice for Amara, who died among us 7 years ago." 8 years, Adiz corrected sharply. 8 years, 2 months, and 3 days. The elder nodded. 8 years. And in those 8 years, we have pretended that what happened was natural. That Amara simply died. But we all knew better, didn't we? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "So tonight," the elder continued, "we will speak the truth. We will hear from those who witnessed. And we will face what we allowed to happen." Adiz stepped forward. "I call my first witness. Mama Udo, who lived next door to Chick and Amara." An elderly woman stood up, her hands shaking. I heard her. Almost every night. The crying. The begging. Sometimes the sound of things breaking. Of Amara hitting the walls. "And did you help her?" Adiz asked, though she already knew the answer. "No," Mama Udo whispered, tears running down her weathered face. "I told myself it wasn't my place. That marriage was between husband and wife. I did nothing." "Thank you for your honesty," Adiz said, not unkindly. "You may sit." One by one, she called witnesses. The women who had seen bruises at the stream. The neighbors who heard screaming. The market women who watched Amara waste away. The herbalist who lied about the cause of death. Each confession was a knife, cutting through years of silence and complicity. With each testimony, Chick seemed to shrink further into himself. His head sank lower. His shoulders curled inward. He looked like he wanted the earth to swallow him whole. But Adiz wasn't done. "Now," she said, "I want to hear from him. Chick, stand up." Chick didn't move. I said stand up. Slowly, painfully, Chick got to his feet. He couldn't meet anyone's eyes. "Tell them," Adiz commanded. "Tell them what you did to my sister. Every detail. Every blow. Every cruel word. Tell them how you killed her spirit long before her body died." Chick's voice was barely a whisper. "I can't." "You can't? You couldn't stop yourself when you were beating her, but now you can't speak? You will speak, or I will speak for you, and trust me, you'd rather tell it yourself." The crowd waited, breathless. And then, like a dam breaking, Chick began to talk. "The first time I hit her," Chick said, his voice shaking, "was over soup. She made soup, and I said it was cold. It wasn't cold. I just wanted. I wanted to show her I was in charge. I wanted her to fear me." He paused, swallowed hard. "After that, it got easier. Easier to find fault. Easier to raise my hand. Easier to ignore her crying. I told myself she deserved it. That she was useless. That I was teaching her to be better." "But she wasn't useless," Adiz interjected. "Was she?" "No," Chick admitted, his voice breaking. "She was perfect. She did everything right. But I still found reasons. Because it was never about what she did. It was about me. About making myself feel powerful." The confession poured out of him like poison from a wound. 7 years of abuse, detailed in agonizing clarity. The crowd listened in horrified silence. Some women wept openly. Some men looked away, ashamed. "And when she died," Chick continued, tears now streaming down his face, "I felt nothing. Just relief that she wouldn't be there to remind me of what I'd done. I cried at her funeral, but they were fake tears. I was already planning to find a new wife." He looked up at Inem, who stood watching with an expression of cold satisfaction. "And I would have done the same thing to Inem. I was waiting. planning it. If she hadn't stopped me first, I would have destroyed her just like I destroyed Amara. The square was silent. The kind of silence that feels heavy, oppressive, like the air before a storm. Adiz let the silence stretch. Let everyone sit with the horror of what they'd just heard. Let them feel the weight of their own complicity. Then she spoke. The question now is, what do we do with him? The elders conferred in low voices. The crowd waited. Chick stood there, exposed, broken open for all to see. Finally, the head elder stood. In our tradition, he said slowly, there are penalties for many crimes. Theft. Assault. Adultery. But this, what Chick did to Amara, our traditions didn't account for this because we assumed no man would do such a thing to his own wife. He looked at Chick with something approaching disgust. If we were to follow the letter of our customs, we would banish him. Cast him out to wander with nothing, as Adiz suggested. But Anem has already imposed her own justice, and it seems effective. No, Adiz said firmly. That's not enough. He still has his dignity, deep down. He still has his name. I want those taken too. She turned to the crowd. I propose something different. Something that will ensure everyone remembers. Not just in this village, but in every village where this story is told. The crowd leaned in, hungry for her words. From this day forward, Chick's name will be changed. He will no longer be called Chick. He will be called Amara's Lesson. Every time someone speaks to him, every time someone refers to him, they will say that name. They will remember what he did and what became of him. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A name change was serious. It erased a person's identity, their lineage. Furthermore, Adiz continued, he will wear a marker. A white cloth tied around his arm, visible to all, that marks him as a man who killed his wife through cruelty. Wherever he goes, people will see and know. And finally, she said, her voice rising, he will spend every market day at the square entrance, greeting people. And do you know what he'll say? He'll say, I am Amara's lesson. I killed my wife with cruelty. Learn from my wickedness. The head elder looked uncertain. This is unprecedented. So was his crime, Adiz shot back. So was our collective silence. This is not just about punishing Chick. This is about making sure that every man who thinks about raising his hand to his wife remembers this moment. Every woman who suffers in silence knows she can speak up. Every neighbor who hears screaming knows they must act. She looked around at all the faces watching her. We cannot bring Amara back. But we can make sure she didn't die for nothing. We can make sure her death meant something. Mama Ngozi stood up. I vote yes. Let it be as Adiz says. One by one, others stood. The women first, then some of the men, then more, until nearly everyone was on their feet. The elders had no choice. It is decided then. From this day forward, he shall be known as Amara's Lesson. The next market day, the entire region came to see if the stories were true. And there he was. The man formerly known as Chick, sitting at the entrance to the market square on a low stool, a white cloth tied prominently around his arm. As each person passed, he spoke in a clear voice, I am Amara's lesson. I killed my wife with cruelty. Learn from my wickedness. Some people spat at his feet. Some cursed him. Some just stared. But everyone heard. Everyone knew. Children asked their parents, what does that mean, Mama? And the parents would tell them the story, Amara's story, and warn them never to be like Amara's lesson. Inem continued to run her business, now more successful than ever. She had become a legend in her own right. Women traveled from far villages to ask her advice on dealing with difficult husbands. She always gave the same counsel, never accept the first blow. Never accept the first insult. set the terms from the beginning. Adiz stayed in the village for several months, making sure the new order held. She and Inem became close friends, sisters bound not by blood but by shared purpose and pain. One evening, they sat together under the mango tree, watching the man formerly known as Chick sweep the compound. "Do you think Amara would approve?" Inem asked quietly. "Of what we've done to him?" Adiz was silent for a long moment. "I think Amara would have wanted him to stop. To change. To become better. But he didn't change until he was forced to. So yes, I think she would approve. Not because she was vindictive, but because she would want other women saved from what she endured." Sometimes, Inem mused, I look at him and feel almost pity. Almost. Don't, Adiz said sharply. He had 7 years to feel pity for Amara. He felt none. This is justice, not cruelty. There's a difference. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. The story of Amara's lesson spread across the region like wildfire. It became more than just a story, it became a movement. Villages started holding women's councils, where women could report abuse without fear. Men who beat their wives found themselves socially isolated, shamed, rejected. The old culture of silence began to crack. Not everywhere. Not all at once. But slowly, surely, things began to change. Young women, when approached by potential husbands, would ask boldly, "Will you treat me as Chick treated Amara, or as a human being deserves?" It became a standard question, a test, a declaration that they would not accept abuse. Amara's lesson himself became something of a traveling exhibit. Other villages requested that he visit, to tell his story, to serve as a living warning. He would go, always with his white cloth, always with his confession. "I am Amara's lesson. I killed my wife with cruelty. Learn from my wickedness." Over and over, in village after village, year after year. One day, a young man approached him after he finished his recitation at a distant village market. The young man looked angry, confrontational. "You're pathetic," the young man spat. "A disgrace to men everywhere. You let women control you. You let them break you." Amara's lesson looked at him with eyes that had seen too much, suffered too much, learned too much. "Young man," he said quietly, "I am not broken by women. I am broken by the weight of what I did to one woman. There is a difference. One is injustice. The other is consequence." He pointed to the white cloth on his arm. "Do you see this? This is not a badge of shame imposed by cruel people. This is the truth made visible. I was cruel. I did kill my wife. Making me say it, making me wear it, that's not cruelty. That's honesty." The young man seemed uncertain now. "Go home," Amara's lesson said. "Treat your wife, if you have one, with kindness. Not because you fear punishment. But because she is human, just as you are human. I learned that lesson too late. Don't make my mistake." The young man left, thoughtful, chastened. Adiz, who had been watching from nearby, approached. She came back every year on the anniversary of Amara's death. "You almost sounded wise just then," she observed. "Not wise," he replied. "Just tired. So very tired." "Good," Adiz said without sympathy. Amara was tired too. For 7 years, she was tired. Tired of pain. Tired of fear. Tired of hoping you would change. Now you know how that feels." She turned to leave, then paused. "But I'll say this. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're being the lesson. That's all I ever wanted from you. Keep being that lesson until you die. It's the only good you'll ever do in this world." 10 years after Amara's death, Inem gave birth to a daughter. The entire village held its breath, wondering what she would name the child. When she announced it, some people wept. Her name, Inem declared, holding the baby high for all to see, is Amara. Because her spirit lives on. Because her story matters. Because she will be remembered not for how she died, but for what her death awakened in all of us. That evening, Inem brought the baby to show the man who would forever be known as Amara's lesson.